Hello everybody, here we are. Welcome back to this late night streaming. Uh, I just did not feel like sleeping, so I just thought of going live. As simple as that. Here we are. Let's just simply start working on the project uh, and see what all can be accomplished tonight. Okay, so let's just simply get started. So far I've actually done quite a lot. I'll be even showing the demo very soon, but let's just simply run the project first of all. And the last thing that is remaining, that is adding the text editing option for the frames, so that we can even change the frame name. That is something that's not possible to do right now. And apart from this particular thing, we even have this frame over here. So inside the editor store, slice and frame.slice, this we have this one. And apart from this particular thing, inside the selection we even have frames. Inside selection we have it. Selected groups ID selection. This thing doesn't need to be here. Having said that, selected groups ID. First of all, we are not really using this, so let's just simply get rid of it completely. So in that case, I'll be completely, first of all, let me even be sure about this. So selected group ID, paste it in here. So this is the selection slice, this is the selection.ts, and editor types, and this is the selected shape. Here we are just simply setting the selected group ID, but I don't think this is ever being used anywhere. Okay, so let's just simply get rid of this. Once done, where is this actually being used though? Let's get rid of this. This was being used here, and that simply means now I can directly get rid of this part. As of right now, this is not really being used, so no use to have it here. And this frame section should go to the frame slice over here. So this is how I have the things. Again, I have to change a lot of things over here, but before that, set frame section, this needs to be removed. Apart from this particular thing, this seems to be alright right now. Frame slice, frames are gonna be there, so I'm gonna be setting the frames, and this is not gonna be frame. That's gonna be text editing state. Frame state. What should be the name of the state? Time to ask AI regarding the name and all. What should be the name of the state that's used for changing the name of the frame? Meanwhile, let's come back here. Localhost 3000 / canvas. This is we have and this canvas can actually be named as board as well. Again, right now we are naming it canvas. And okay, canvas can be there as well, not really big problem. Coming back to this, if this represents is editing frame name. If this state represents editing frames, title or name, he has good running options. If it's Boolean, whether the frame name is being edited, is the editing frame name. If it stores the editing state, frame name, editing state, frame name in the string, frame ID should be there, value should be there, and that is it. If it stores the currently edited frame, two things. If it stores the currently edited frame ID and the name, not really. At the end, I have to render the input box too, so I'll need to store. So should I store everything in the state, or I should derive? I derive as much as possible and only store the minimum information needed to editor. For frame editor, these two things are gonna be enough. Then once that is done, we can actually derive the values. That's not really a bad option either. The input component can use those derived values. Frame editing state and frame, and then it can actually be used over here like this. How about when editing text? For text editing, the principle is the same, but there's no important difference for you. Ordinary UI like frame title, deriving everything from the shaping of text editing shape value. This common pattern can be text editing state can have these things. Then derive the rest from the shape. The text area value. Sometimes entry starts on a new text object that doesn't exist in the scene yet. In that case, there is nothing to derive from, so the editing step needs to contain more information. So shape ID can be undefined for new text. So value and all these things, once the text is committed and becomes a shape, those properties can again come from the shape itself. So good. Store data if it is a temporary. Okay, fine. The thing is that by default, whenever we double click, we will not have the shape ID, and hence we'd better go with this approach. And apart from this particular thing, when it comes to frame, right, so frame editing state, it will have the frame ID, and it will have the value or the name, to be precise, and then that's gonna be just simply saved. Okay, so at the end of the day, first one is already done, so we don't really need to change that. And as of right now, frame editing state I'm gonna go with it, and frame editing state, and second one is actually gonna be set frame editing state. So frame editing state, this as well as this, then frame slash set frame editing state. This particular thing is done. Now of course I need to have a frame editing state here, and second one is gonna be set frame editing state. Apart from this particular thing, once we have the slice, I need to have the type as well. So when it comes to frame, Selected group IDs, selection bounds. Selected group IDs. This is not needed. I'm not sure whether I'm actually using selection bounds. Selection bounds are not even used, and there's no need to have it here. Selected shape IDs, that's fine, good to have. As for this particular thing, I'll be having it here. As for the type, we'll have two things: frame editing state. First of all, this set frame editing state. Where do I have this text editing state? That is actually here, and interaction mode, all these things is hardly being used, so I'll be getting rid of this as well. And let's have it here itself. So export type, and this is gonna be frame editing state. It will have ID. That's gonna be string, so ultimately it will have the frame ID. It is gonna have these two things. Is there any problem with this? Because when we click an image, it will definitely have the frame ID, a shape ultimately, and it should have the name. That's the only thing. And it should have the name, so that when we update the name, this gets updated, and using frame ID we can find and update the name. So ideally this much should be fine. Okay, apart from this particular thing, later we can work on it even more. And selection bounds, it's hardly being used, so let's get rid of this. At least this seems a little this is the bug. So if there are many groups, so they should have their own. First of all, let's fix this bug. Whenever we are rendering okay, so whenever I'm rendering the grouped shapes, I'm just simply passing the grouped bounds. Turns out that the thing is that they have the same group IDs, right? So as they have the same group IDs, yeah, because I duplicated them, and because of that they have the same group ID. So even if I keep it here now, it doesn't really matter. As expected, they have the same group IDs, and as long as they have the same group IDs, that's not gonna be good. So in that case, whenever I'm duplicating them, I'll actually have to make sure that they have different group IDs and probably different shapes, frame IDs as well. Frame ID doesn't matter that much, but group ID matters. Alrighty, so it turns out that at the end of the day, at least we can design them. That's the only thing we can do. So they have the same IDs, so that is why they belong to the same group. So whenever we duplicate, we have to make sure that they do not belong to the same group. And hopefully this is how it's done here. But the thing is that Excalidraw doesn't really support it grouping, so Eraser supports this. So let's check this thing out there, exactly how it works. They are the different ones, right? So whenever I am duplicating them, so at that time I'd better create a separate group IDs. At least this much I have to do anyhow. Duplicate actions. So whenever I'm duplicating them, so at that time shapes, I'm filtering the selected shapes. Once the filtered, what am I doing? Duplicated shapes I'm creating, so I'm gonna be creating new shapes. So they will have the previous shapes, the duplicate offset, and the UUID. This much is not enough at that time when we are actually doing this. We are duplicating them. So if but what if there are two different groups? That's interesting. What happens in that case? This is a different group, this is a different group. I selected and duplicated. Now this is a different one, this is a different one. How to handle this? Interesting. So whenever I'm duplicating them, shape ID is being changed, that is fine. How about the group IDs? Okay, it turns out that we actually need to create what we need to create a map. So that map will map these two IDs. Let's try doing it on our own, and then I'll give it to the AI, and the AI is gonna write the code. Okay, so it's not like I'm gonna do everything on my own here, but at least we can say that grouped shapes. We can try writing the logic, and the new logic is gonna be new map, and just gonna be sort of like this. I'll have key as a string and shape as the value here. And once that is done, so we'll just simply, once we have the filtered shape, so instead of doing this thing in here, once I have the, now they are not going to be duplicated shapes, rather they are going to be selected shapes. Once I actually have the selected shapes, I loop through them. So for const select shape of selected shapes, once I have that, then what is gonna be the next thing? I'll check if grouped shapes dot has shape dot id. If it has the shape dot id, then we have to, if it doesn't have the shape dot id, now we are actually talking about the group, so it doesn't have the group id. It's not about the shape id, it's mainly about the group id. It can be undefined, so in that case let's make sure that it does exist. So if it doesn't have the group id, then we will say that okay, that's fine. Grouped shapes dot set, the key is gonna be shape dot group id, and the value is gonna be an empty array, and we'll make sure that okay, you do exist. And in case if it doesn't exist, so what do we have to do? Okay, in case it doesn't exist, we've done this. In case if it already exists, then grouped shapes dot set, we are gonna be setting again shape dot group id, as simple as that. And well, we can't really set that, so let's just simply get a shape dot group id, and then we are gonna be pushing the shape there. So this is how sort of it can be done. So at the end of the day, what we'll have a map of grouped shapes, and when we actually have them, and once we have it, so we have all the grouped shapes first of all right now here. Now we'll loop through them, and what should ideally be happening over here, that I have to loop through the shapes again, and we have to create duplicated shapes. When we have to create duplicated shapes, we'll check if that belongs to a group or not, and if it actually belongs to a group, then we'll create IDs. Okay, how can we create separate IDs for them? So we have this, we cannot really change the key, can we? What to do now? We can get the values, we can loop through them, so ultimately we are gonna be getting all the shapes. Once we get all those shapes, then we can change the values, change that. Okay, that's fine. And yeah, that can be better way to get the things done. So first of all, get all the groups, change their IDs. Once that is done, after that sort of think about it, especially if I loop through the shapes, selected shapes, then once I'm looping through them, they may have the group ID. If they have the group ID, I have to skip it, as simple as that. And if they do not have the group ID, yeah, let's do it this way. So const duplicated shapes, again I can directly give it to the AI, that's not really a big problem, and the logic is gonna be written, but it's better to try it on our own, duplicated shapes, and then of course we can offload it to the AI for sure. It has any type by default. So this is done. Then what I gonna do, that const even I can do it directly in here as I'm looping through them, right? So I can actually keep it somewhere here, and as we are doing this thing here, if shape dot group ID exists, in that case I have to do this, and I have to return or something, continue. Hopefully it will work, and in else we'll just simply set duplicated shapes dot push, and we'll be pushing shape there. Alrighty, so this way we'll push all the normal shapes, and after that what do we have to do? We have to loop through this grouped shapes that we have created, if the ID actually group actually exists. So const grouped shape grouped shape of grouped shapes dot values. This way I'm gonna be getting the grouped shapes. Once I got the grouped, or just simply name it shapes, and once I got the shapes, then const group ID, that's gonna be UUID before, like this, and now I have the shape, I have to just simply loop through them again. So for shape of shapes, duplicated shapes dot shape group ID, and this whole thing actually needs to be an object. So this is how it can be done. So overall, this is not done yet, because apart from this particular thing, the duplicated shapes, so this is done. Once this particular thing is done, then we have to get the shapes, and we have to just simply add the offset in them, right? Let's uncomment this. Duplicated shapes, do this, set shapes, set selected shape IDs, duplicated shapes. Alrighty, so this is how it should actually be done, but of course it can be better. But let's see whether it actually works or not before even giving it to the AI. A group has been created. Just going to duplicate it. So another group has been created. These are different ones. Another group has been created. Now this, they are different ones. Now they are all together different groups. So that's what we wanted, didn't we? And we have done it. And now if I actually wrap them in a frame, it doesn't really matter once they're actually wrapped in a frame. They will look look like four different groups altogether. And that is it. We've done it, yeah. Come on. And now I could wrap this in a frame. That's great. Let me create a frame out of this. कहाँ गया भाई? Here it is. So by default they're not part of it, rather they are the part of this. Yeah, so I'll have to specifically make it the part of this particular frame, then it is gonna be moving. So that's sort of understandable. I can keep it here as well. So now both are part of this, and this is how it's sort of gonna be going on. Yeah, so great. This is working. We've done it. Again, I can give it to the AI and ask it to make it better. So do it. And even we have to do it specifically by going to each and every file, like even make it better. Let's see what it actually does. The main issue is that the function is doing three different things. Finding the it is doing three things. So it is actually asking me to create functions now. Okay, let's do that. This is the main function. This is gonna be here. Then there are gonna be helper functions here. So this is gonna these are the helper functions over here. So let's just simply paste them in here. Of course, let's not export them as of right now. We have create duplicate one, and we have get duplicated group ID, and it just simply does that. And this is it. So ultimately what we are doing, we are duplicating the shapes. When we are actually duplicating the shapes, we are getting the selected shapes, and once we got the selected shapes, we want to get the duplicated shapes, so we are just simply calling create duplicate shapes. We are passing the shapes over here, and we are passing the selected shapes, so the overall shapes and the selected shapes. And then at the end of the day, we are gonna be getting the duplicated shapes, which are gonna be part of the shapes. And this is how it just simply goes on. But interesting thing starts over here. So coming back to this thing, duplicated shapes. So we have the shapes, selected shape ID each, that is nothing but a set, creating a group ID map, and it actually returns what? It returns it filters the selected shapes. After that, it just simply adds the offset in all of them, and once it has actually added the offset in them, then if they have the group ID, in that case get a duplicated group ID, because of course we have to have the ID as well. So we are gonna be getting the duplicated ID, and get a duplicated group ID, and that's gonna be saved over here, otherwise it's gonna be undefined. How does this work? Get duplicated group ID, it original group ID it gets, and group ID map it gets. So ultimately I'm passing this in here. So group ID map is actually being passed over here, but as of right now there's nothing in that. So I have the group ID map dot get original group ID. So if it exists there, that is great. If it doesn't exist there, we are gonna be creating new duplicated IP, and then group ID dot set original group ID will have the duplicated group ID. So ultimately original I'm gonna be assigning a duplicated one, and then gonna be returning the duplicated ID from here. So this is actually gonna be returned, and next time onwards what will happen, this will actually happen. That's interesting, not really bad thing at all. What is actually happening over here, that when it's gonna run for the first time with a particular group ID. So I'm passing the shape group ID and the group ID map. So in this particular map I'll have the old ID, and the ultimately I'll have the original group ID and the duplicated one. So when it runs for the first time, it will a value will be assigned over here. Once the value is actually assigned, next time onwards when we get the value group ID, so it will already be there, hence this particular part will not run, rather we'll just simply return from here, and that's not bad deal. Okay, fine. So it is definitely gonna work. Okay, so ultimately how can we check this thing out? One more thing, that if I'm actually deleting this, once the shape is actually deleted, this part never gets removed. So that is something we have to focus on as well, that after the deletion of the shape, why aren't we able to remove the background? Because suppose this is the shape, I delete the shape, so the bound actually goes away, right? So okay, never mind, that's something that can be done later on as well, so not really big problem as such. As of right now it is working fine. Okay, the next thing is that what we have done this part, we can easily delete the shape, so no problem as such. The only thing is that if I delete this, I still get this bound, then I need to click, then only it goes away. So that's something I have to fix, and probably when I delete, I definitely call invalidate. Okay, never mind, we'll see exactly what's the reason behind it, or probably overlay. Let's see why am I facing this issue. Group selection we have here, and this part belongs to the group selection only, so once we delete it, it never runs. So this particular part never runs even when we are invalidating. So why it doesn't run? That's interesting. CLG doesn't run. Run. Time to see it in action. So suppose this is the group that we have. I deleted this and nothing ran. So that is something we have to focus on, that why it doesn't run, right? So let's create two groups this time, so that we can just simply copy paste the things, otherwise it's gonna be quite crazy. Let's duplicate from here. I haven't created shortcuts for duplicating, so we can just simply click on the buttons as of right now. So this is what we've done. If I just simply now this doesn't run, so let's see whether first of all this runs or not, right? So if I just simply delete this, so this runs, great. So if this runs, now we have to see if this runs or not. So let's give it one more try, but I'm gonna duplicate this quite many times, so that we have many things to try many options to just simply try. So let's delete it again. Yeah, it still runs, so no problem here as well. Going. Let's check here. Let's select one here from here, and once selected, clear everything and delete this. Still runs, great job. So going, erase a trail, One thing I remember that it's been a long time even deleting something using the eraser. I don't know whether it actually well, not this one. I'm not sure whether it actually works or not. It must be working, hopefully. So let's get an image here and try deleting that. So this time I'm gonna be deleting it using this. It definitely gets deleted. Never mind. That's not what the focus is. Let's delete it now. Okay, this is still running. So if this runs, so probably then this does not run. Time to give it a try one more time. Delete this. Okay, that actually runs. So if this part runs, then this part is not running. Let's give it a try. That also runs. If that part runs, then this part is not running. That also runs. Then I'm gone. If this runs, that simply means there are group bounds. Interesting. Why are there group bounds? Because there are grouped shapes. Why are there grouped shapes? Because there are preview shapes. And why there are preview shapes? Because when we delete, we do not remove it from the preview shape, right? Let me see actions, and we are actually deleting right now. So this is the one. We just simply do this, but we do not really remove it from the preview shape, and that's the problematic thing. So wherever I'm using use delete shapes, where am I using? Where I'm deleting, so at that time I need to pass the pointer reps. Any better way? What can be better way than this? The best way is that by filter the preview shapes as well, so at least that doesn't have the deleted shapes. And if once it doesn't have, so the thing is that whenever I'm doing this, so preview shape has the values. Once the preview shape has the values, so this definitely runs, and that is why we are able to get this. We have to check one more thing, that is apart from this preview shapes, rendering should actually be happening as well. What to do now? Let me think. Draw when other shapes are done. Is there any direct way to get it done, or we'll have to empty the preview shape as well, delete the shapes from the preview shape? When this part runs, at that time selected shapes are gonna be removed. So interaction dot preview shape. And preview shapes are the ones that contains. Okay, let's do one thing, delete it completely from the wherever it's been used. So first of all, let's go to the action, use duplicate shapes. It's actually being used inside selected shape context. First of all, over here I don't have Interesting. Use duplicated shapes. Let me ask AI regarding this. When I delete shapes, group the shapes, so the state changes, but the preview grouped preview shapes remain the same. Hence, even after deletion, I get the border. So let's see what's the solution to this. And apart from this particular thing, if I go to the renderer over here, so when I'm rendering the shapes, I have the preview shapes, but when I'm actually rendering the scene, so I actually get it from the interaction of preview shapes. So yeah, this definitely remains there. What is the next thing? Especially once that is deleted. So in the overlay, we are getting shapes, selected shape IDs, then we are rendering them, so we are getting the preview shapes. To get the preview shapes, interaction.preview shape. If we are drawing, if we are not really drawing, in that case interaction.preview shapes, we are gonna be getting them from here. So what could be the reason behind this? Where am I using selected shape IDs? That's just being used here, and at that time it still runs. That's a classic issue with the derived preview state becoming stale. What's happening in something like this? User deletes group shape. Interaction preview shape contains copies of those shapes. User deletes the group shapes in the store updates. Interaction preview shape still contains the old copies. Your overlay renderer renders bounce preview shape even though those shapes no longer exist. The root cause is the preview shape is no longer valid. Recommended cancel the iteration. So deleting the selected shapes should end the interaction. So ultimately the pointer should be set to none or whatever you do, idle or something. Interesting. So setting it to none, that's not bad at all. This is what okay, so that simply means I have to pass validate preview shapes. Well, let's do one thing. As of right now, what I'm gonna do, that is wherever I'm using this duplicate shapes, from here I'm exporting action.ts. Inside this it's being used, and that's the actions.tsx. So we can easily get the pointer over here. So how am I gonna get it is up to me, but pointer refs return type of and use pointer state. As simple as that. I need to get it somehow over here, but once this is done and we actually deleted So we just need to pass it from here. Pointer f actually needs to be passed. Duplicated shape, once that is passed, so we are gonna be getting the same thing here as well. So going back to this, once this is done, so whenever we are duplicating them, not duplicating them actually, duplication is not the problem actually, so deletion is the problem. This is where it's gonna be used. And once this is done, so if I come back to this, once we are invalidating everything, we have to say pointer ref dot interaction ref dot current, and that will have type none. Any problem? No problem as such. And now the only thing is that wherever actions are being used, we have selected shape context. Just a sec. So ultimately we have the context menu. In the context menu, we have the context menu. We are passing context menu in this. As of right now, this context menu that I'm actually passing, context menu, use context menu, it stores, it is the part of canvas itself. Use context menu, so it mainly has what? We actually need to pass scale from here as well. again. So pointer, that's gonna be sort of the same. Pointer state. Okay, there is a problem. क्या missing है? Whenever we are passing this, what is the type of this anyway? This should always be this only. It doesn't matter even if it is a ref. That's just the return type of that. So what is the problematic thing in that case? If I'm actually keeping it like this, they should be fine. Type context menu type. Interesting. Spelling was, what the hell? What? Spelling was the issue. Let's try this thing out now. Oh, okay. We are not able to delete that. Use delete properties of undefined current. Oh, sorry, it can be not none. Deleting doesn't mean setting it to none, right? That is right. Pointer is dot. And preview shapes. That's actually gonna be equals to dot. And especially when we are deleting, so that simply means deletion is what, that's select. So at least this much can be done. The next thing is that how can we be sure that okay, if that is equals to select, so interaction dot preview shapes dot what next, filter. I'm gonna be getting the shape, so not selected has shape dot id. So if all the shapes which are selected shape doesn't have them, they are gonna be filtered, and they are gonna be the remaining preview shapes, and this is how it should be done. Context menu, pointer reps is declared here. These plus pointer reps, that's fine. So once we actually have the pointer reps, use pointer state, which actually comes from their type of that return type. Just can hope that it works. First of all, this is stopped working, so what we removed right now, preview shapes, so this delete shape. So we are not really able to select that now anymore. Interesting. this should ideally be fine, but if it is not fine, then what am I missing? Selected shape ID is preview shape ID is group one is still, old one is still. So if preview shape is empty, you are still carrying the invalid. Uh, yeah, by then there are gonna be no shape selected as well. So setting it to none wouldn't really be a bad idea, because by default they are gonna be selected, and then once we delete them, at least there are not gonna be no preview shapes at all. There are gonna be shapes, but not the preview ones. That's right. So this can be done. Setting it to none, that is right. Not really bad idea, but once we actually do this, first of all it is saying that that does not exist. Pointer ref return type of which pointer state. Once we actually have this, from return refs I'm just simply getting it here, and I'm just directly passing it in here. What does this here mean? Especially when I'm sort of doing everything right. The important part of the error is that pointer ref is missing but required. Notice the spelling pointer refs, pointers ref. Am I the craziest guy ever? This is the effect of the night. Anyway, let's go here and yeah, now that's right. Group them, duplicate them, and undefined current. Why is that so? Pointer refs dot interaction dot current. This doesn't exist. Why? Whenever the value of the pointer f changes, so canvas ref is passed the value of editor refs, and if the value of the pointer doesn't change, so it doesn't change at all. Use pointer state. Okay. Interesting. Time to figure it out. Why this is happening? So canvas. This is actually about, but why is this happening? Like this is not even running in that case. Context menu is actually calling that particular hook there. thing is that in between it actually becomes undefined, and because of that thing we are having this issue. But the question is, why is the value being undefined here? Because the value wasn't being undefined so the value is not really being undefined here, but the value is being undefined in here, and it is because this is being rendered there. Even till now it is fine. That simply means if I just set it to empty just right here, it's gonna be completely alright. Handle delete, close context menu. It closes the context menu. So closing does what with this? Close context menu. So ultimately the context that you have. Till this point it works great. Then we have used delete strips. It starts becoming undefined for some reason. That's for the hook. So calling it inside a context doesn't bother me. Calling it inside a hook is bothersome. Why is it so that if I pass pointer reps from hook to uh, components and from components to hooks, it becomes okay. If there is, so let me try doing this now. Well, that should not be problematic, but if in case there is. This is a problematic thing. Alrighty, this seems to be working now. It's been pretty insane. I think at night it's crazy. Ultimately, these types of bugs they do keep coming. But okay, never mind. This particular thing has been resolved finally. I haven't been even speaking. That's another case. I've been just simply busy fixing it. What is gonna be the next thing? This particular thing is done. That's fine. And once this thing is done, the next thing is to just simply, once we have the frame, we actually want to edit the name of the frame. How can that be done? So editing the name of the frame. Interesting. We already have the frame. That now first of all we have to know the click and the frame selection. As soon as the frame is selected, we have to edit not just that. Let me see how it works actually here. I'm gonna go with this way of organizing the things. It's well organized here, but as for right now, create a figure. Now if I double click on it, nothing happens, right? Yeah, only when we double click on this we get the option to edit it, and this way we can just simply edit this. We can even change the color of that depending on the need. So this is something that we can do. Interesting. So first of all click on that, and then whenever you double click on this particular text, so not double clicking on the frame, rather double clicking on the text. That's gonna be interesting. How can we do that? One click is fine, but how about double clicks? And especially when you double click, at that time you have to set the state, but at that before even that you have to get the shape. Clicking will be fine, double clicking should also be fine. Let's go ahead. Selection, whenever we are double clicking here, check is inside frame. This is the logic, not this one actually. Get frame children, use selection actions. These are the helper functions that we have. Later I'm gonna be organizing them. This will happen from tomorrow onwards only. Today onwards actually. And initialize this. We have to organize the things really well, like around quite big here, around what the hell, more than 500 lines of code. Anyway, we will organize it, not really big problem. As for right now, let's directly come here. So when the pointer down actually happens, at that time set selected shape ID is initialize this selection. So whenever we click on an image, that is where we have to focus on. When we actually click on clicked an unselected shape, okay, that's fine. When we click an unselected shape, that becomes a selected one. That simply means we have the hit shape. Having the hit shape means we are calculating the hit shape here. So when we are getting the hit shape, so at that time we have separate logic for point in frame, and then we are calculating in text as well. So at this point of time, that's actually gonna be just selected. So once we've done this, after that We are just simply setting the selected shapes ID each. Great. Now what's the next thing? Double click, and that too on the canvas. Uh-huh. Yeah, double click on the canvas. This is the event that we have to listen for. The last time when I was working with a text area, so at that time we did not need double click because we were just simply we were editing it on pointer up, but this time it's different. That simply means uh, on double click, what is the event name? Let's go to the canvas right now. This is gonna be a bit different than previous ones, because so far we've been okay with the clicks only, pointer down, up and all. Right now on the second canvas we already have double click, and when we double click, so at that time what do? This can be used as well, but this comes from text editing on double click, handle double click. Let's go here. We get the event. Once we get the event, we'll see if we double clicked on text, that is fine, but then I need to remove it from here. This is not the best place to keep it. On pointer down text. Okay, so where should I actually keep it? Whenever I'm double clicking, apart from this particular thing, so we only have this double click section. So we'll have to first of all make it generic handler, otherwise it will not work. Making it generic handler in the sense, especially when we double click directly when there are no yeah, so on double click handler. So this time, instead of using this directly, I'm gonna be creating a generic function. So let's make it the canvas interaction section only. So probably these are the DOM events, first one, second one, third one, and I'm gonna have one more, and that's gonna be function handle double click. And this is how it's gonna be done. Okay, once this particular thing is done, then I have to be back here. Canvas interactions dot handle double click. So this is sort of a generic handler right now. Now the problem is that when we double click, we have to start editing the text. text editing, this particular section. Text area, right? Luckily we are passing it there as well, so instead of using it in here, well, we even need to use it here. In that case, text editing dot handle key down, that is okay, let it be here, but we'll do one thing, that is we'll copy it from here, and whenever we double click, even single click removes all the selected shapes if I'm not wrong. So in our case, just single click somewhere, yeah, and right now we are actually talking about double clicks right here. Okay, so when we double click, we have to take care of two things. Keep in mind. Let's go. So copy it from here, cut, let's go here, we already have used text editing, interesting here. So where is this actually being used though? Text on pointer down, so we can just use it here as well. So now whenever we are handling double click, so first of all we need to know about the place where we double clicked. Text dot handle double click. I think I even need to pass the event as well. It's gonna take the event, and it is considering it as the pointer event. Double click as a pointer event, interesting. Yeah, we will be clicking that. Okay, that's fine. Okay, pointer event. We are doing it like this, but what is the next thing that we have to do? First of all, whenever we are double clicking, at that time no selected shapes are gonna be there. So even here, if we have these as selected ones, if I just double click, all of them are gonna be gone. So this is the first thing that we have to focus on. So whenever we are double clicking, setting the selected shapes to null is the priority. Yes or no? So selected shapes are actually gonna be null. What is the next thing? The next thing is that we actually have to set selected shape price happy-go-lucky person empty. That's the first thing. What is the next thing? The next thing is this, that if it already handles everything, client to canvas impression on pointer down text, it just simply sets the editing state and hence that appears. So right now it should be working in our case. Yeah, it comes back, we are able to edit this, but this is not it. So we have to now do it conditionally in the sense it's gonna be insane. Even setting it to empty right now, especially when we double click, doesn't make any sense. Why? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So no. So at that time, whenever we double click, there should be only one selected shape. As simple as that. And if there is none, so I have to set it to this. Okay, that's fine. So in that case, let's cut it from here first of all. Current point, and that's gonna be event dot what does this mean now? Event dot client but they are the coordinates, like the client coordinates. So now whenever I double click, do I need to convert them to the canvas coordinates or not? Whenever I double click, at the time I have to render enough, yeah, that's too much. Render double click, so we get the point. We have the point x and point y, and usually we don't do it first. Text editing instead, it is gonna appear on the screen only. So wherever we click, that should appear, so it doesn't need to be converted to the client world coordinates. And once that is done, so whenever we are saving, at that time we need to do that. So are we doing that or not? Save text, finish text editing, update text, or create the text. We have the text editing state. I'm not getting one thing, that is whenever we double click, so x and y coordinates that we get, they are good for the text area. How about the shape, text shape? So whenever we are saving, so we should be saving the what? Whenever we save, when we click out, so at that time we should be saving the canvas coordinates, world coordinates, and I don't seem to be using that here. So let me see if I have I do have viewport helpers. As I have it, so on double click we are actually doing it here. So whenever we double click, at that time we actually get the canvas coordinates, and then we set the value. So by default we are setting the canvas coordinates. When we are setting the canvas coordinates, so if there is drag offset, so what if there is some drag offset here? It still appears there. Why? That simply means whenever we are rendering the text editor, at that time we are converting it to the client coordinates back. Otherwise this is not possible. So whenever we are working with this, yeah, canvas to client, that is good, not bad thing. So when we save it, we are saving the canvas coordinates, and when we have to use it, we are converting it back to the client coordinates, and that will just simply do the job. Great. Anyway, what is our goal over here? We have the event, and when we want to save, so current point is gonna be equals to get viewport helpers dot So yeah, we are calculating the points. That was I was checking that whether we are actually getting the canvas points or not, and it is actually being calculated. So that's great. The same thing we need to do here as well. So and later we may make it even better. But as for what the viewport helpers use viewport helpers. It takes the canvas ref when converting to client to canvas coordinates. Overlay canvas ref. So viewport helpers dot. What do we want? Client to canvas coordinates, right? Canvas to client and client to canvas. We don't really worry about this screen as of right now, so that's fine. So let's get the client to canvas coordinates first of all. Client dot x event dot client x event dot client y. So we got the point. They are the absolute ones for sure. Once we have those points, then what is the next thing that we have to do? The next thing that we have to do that we have to check whether I am actually clicking on. If we just directly double click on this, then yeah, it doesn't really matter whether that's selected or not. Double clicking makes it appear. So when I'm double clicking, so I have to check whether I'm double clicking on the particular frame or not, and then I have to get that. Clicked frame text. So we have to create a function for it for sure. So click the frame text. Mm, click the text frame. Okay, click the frame text. So get what should be the name of it? A function that is mainly used for checking whether we actually clicked on or not. Is it clicked? Let me take the help of this. Name of the function that checks if I clicked on the name of the frame is point and that's gonna be selected as well by then. Interesting. So whenever we double click or even a single click, that's actually going to be selected then. So get, what was the name of it anyway? Hit test frame name. Get clicked frame. Frame text. Get clicked frame text or get clicked text frame. Get clicked text frame. How about get clicked text frame? Get a frame name at point. Get clicked frame name. Get clicked frame name, and what we'll do, we'll just simply pass the point, and that is it. What will this do? It will just simply return me a frame. If we there's can be possibility that I'm actually clicking on that or I'm not. So get click the frame name. Click the frame. Let's just have it right here, and later I'm gonna move it. So function get click the frame name, gonna get a point, and that's gonna be type of point. Just sort of like this. Once we actually have it, what's the next thing that we can actually do? What is the problem here? It can actually be null as well. If the point is actually null, I'm as simple as that. And now that's insane. How is this working now? So whenever we hover over a shape that changes the cursor, that will definitely happen. And as that happens, now whenever I click, so when I click on this one, it automatically gets selected because we check the hit test. So ultimately we can use this, can't we? Get point at position. Get shape at position. Pass the point. Pass all the shapes. Pass the scale. And that is it. We don't have a scale. Let's go to the top. We'll organize it, but the thing is that making it work first of all. So we got the hit shape. Once we got the hit shape, even by double clicking, then we'll check if hit shape dot type, if that's triple equals to frame. This is not gonna work. How can I modify it to work in my, like the way I want it to work? Get point in shape. This is not what we want. We have get point in shape, and it works like this. Let's not modify the current one. We got the hit shape, that is more than enough. Now I have to check whether I actually clicked on the edge of the hit shape or not. So clicked on text. To check this, what I can say is clicked over clicked on frame name is clicked on frame name. And what am I doing? I already have the hit shape, and the logic that I'm gonna be writing here, that's mainly gonna be for the hit shape. If the type is equals to frame, only then this particular part should run, else I'm gonna be doing something else altogether. If I don't have this, should be fine. If I have the hit shape, then this is gonna be running, otherwise by default this is gonna be running, and that is it. So if I just simply double click somewhere, it still works great. So coming back to this, so clicked on frame name is clicked on frame name. I'm gonna be passing a few things over from here. First one is gonna be the point, and second one is gonna be the come on, frame. Frame, that's gonna be the hit shape actually. Once this is done, of course I have to create this, and probably this thing can be that frame shape. that can be shape. And what I'm actually doing over here, there is this part. So the shape and the point, let me copy it from here and see what we can do. So so the point where I'm actually clicking, this is the point should be in this particular range. So scale text to width. Even for this particular thing, for enabling frame, probably I have to create a use a frame or shape frame or something. Anyway, we'll see that what happens. But as for right now, const, especially scaled width and height, we need to have them, and they are gonna be coming from the shape. So let's just simply copy it one more time. So when it comes to geometry, where is that? And especially when it comes to hit testing and this particular stuff here. So I'm actually gonna copy this thing as well. So probably this whole thing and paste it in here. So now when it comes to the shape, actually text. So we are worrying about the height and width of the text, right? That is right. So tolerance is not really here, so I'm gonna be using the base tolerance that we have by default, and the shape is gonna be frame shape, that is for sure. So frame shape dot text does not exist on this. So over here, if frame shape dot type, if that's equals to frame, if that's not equals to frame, return false, and if that is actually equals to that, then we are gonna be returning like this. So we have the text height, so this is defining the overall range, starting point and the end point. Once we have it all, we are just simply doing it, and once we've done this, so it will tell us whether I clicked on the shape or not, text or not. Clicked on frame name. If I clicked on frame name, that too I double clicked on that, in that case set frame, set forward frame or something else, set frame editing frame state, set editing it turns out we don't really have it here. Frame editing state. Not this one. frame editing state, frame editing state, set frame editing state, use set frame editing state. Done. Done. So now I should be able to import it here. Once we have set frame editing state, so once this is done, set frame edit. So now we need to set a few things here. In this, there needs to be an object. Will that be an object? First of all, it needs to have frame ID, and frame ID is gonna be clicked on. In that case, hit shape.id. Value is gonna be hit shape.text.name. So this way it can actually be done, but the overall types are not right. So if I go to the slice, this is actually gonna be an array, and frame editing state, let's set the type. It's actually gonna be an object first of all, and now as for the type of it, frame editing state, the type that I already defined earlier. So this is how it's done. It can actually be null as well. Frame editing state, it can definitely be null. So this way it can be done. This is the overall type. Frame name is gonna be here. So we are overall setting it, and once this is set, that is it. But this should only happen when if clicked on frame name, and if I didn't click, I'm gonna be calling this. So overall logic we have written. Let me even give it to the AI and see what it says regarding this. If we are missing something, or it is fine. This is already pretty clean. I'd make a couple of small changes. Well, the good thing is that we wrote the code well, right? So some changes it has made. It test ID, test name, that is fine. But it has changed though. If not clicked on frame, okay, just simply returns from here. So yeah, overall this is fine, no problem as such. So congratulations, this is something that we've already done. And the next thing is that we have to check whether it actually works or not. So ouch, it's already 3:21. How long has it been going live? Let's just simply check the state and then I'll call it. I'm gonna sleep now. And the remaining things are gonna be done tomorrow. So what I'm gonna actually do, because later tomorrow we have to just simply render the state, render the element on the screen. So that is it, that can be done. But as for right now, we wanna mainly check the frame editing state. Let's pin it right here, and let's create a few shapes here, wrap them in a group. And if I double click on the frame, there is no uh, nothing as such, right? But if I double click over here over the name, still nothing is happening. Something's definitely happening. Well, we got the ID here, but it took some time. That's fine. So let's just simply reset it once and do it again. Double click, but that's gone actually. Now we are here. Let's just wait for a while. There are many events. How long will it just keep going? 92 years. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. So what I want that as I'm double clicking on the even on the shape, nothing's quite happening, right? But if I double click on the frame, we got the frame ID, we got the name. As we got this, now using we have to, if we have this, so we have to render the state, and we have to change the name, and then we have to just simply set it. That's what we have to do. So this is the UI work now. So when it comes to UI work, one more thing, should I use a text area or input? I'd use input, right? So it's actually gonna be using an input over here. So let me do one thing, because usually it's gonna take a lot of time. To make it quick, we have text editor here, and similarly I'm gonna ask it to write a function like this, or just simply ask write a component for frame name editing. This is just the UI part, so hopefully it will be able to do it well, but let's see. So let's just simply copy it and see what it's just written. So over here, what is the name of it? The name of this one can be frame name editor. Frame name editor.tsx. Let's simply paste it here and see what it has done. So this is just the type. It has on change, on commit, on cancel and all, and they're directly applied on this. Handle key down, enter escape. Handle key down, enter escape. Interesting. So whenever we okay, fine. So what we are actually doing over here, that frame name editor gets the value. The value is gonna be nothing but the name, x, y, width, scale, on change, on commit and on cancel. Well, not that much either. I don't have to get them, rather I have to get it done right here. So I'll be getting rid of this. I'll be getting rid of this. As for the value is gonna be nothing but the name. So frame name, I don't even need to have the frame name over here. I can get rid of it. Frame editor, I don't really need to pass anything here as such, except these few things. So at least I don't need these things, I can get them directly. Same goes for this one as well. Handle key down, no doubt we need to do something or the other, but as for right now let's keep it simple. Value on blur. So on blur, whenever we click outside that, so if I'm actually clicking outside an input box, so whenever we are clicking, and if that doesn't, okay, that can be done, so we don't really need to have on blur over here. And it needs to have some style, x, y, width, height, and all these things. So let's just simply get rid of this part as well. So overall this is how it's gonna be look like. Again, many things are yet to be done, but at the end of the day we have just example as well. We have to do something like this, and then we'll be able to get it done, right? But as for right now, this is gonna be the to do, so we'll work on it tomorrow. Let's keep it at the top. Most of the to dos are done from here. Work on frame name editor. It's not gonna be difficult one, so don't worry about it. It can easily be done. And then later, once this is done, so tomorrow we will mostly be refactoring our code. And as for right now, select all, toggle grid up. This is something we've never worked on, so we are gonna be working on it later. But toggle grid, and this is called Zen mode. Okay, that's fine. View mode, we are gonna be just simply seeing the things. We have quite a lot of things, but it's not like we have a lot, so the further coming things are actually gonna be easy. So probably today and tomorrow and all, just a couple of days more, and it will be properly refactored, and then we'll switch to the backend section. Anyway, that was it. Now I'm gonna be catching up tomorrow, of course in the morning. Until then, bye bye.